Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into the science and the ancient mechanics of taking your meditation practice from just, basic relaxation to profound mastery. We aren't just talking about sitting quietly in a room today. We are looking at the literal architecture of consciousness. We're going to decode the brainwaves, the biomechanics, and the daily habits that transform meditation from what can sometimes feel like a frustrating chore into a deeply rewarding permanent trait. Here's our syllabus for this masterclass. We'll kick things off with setting the physical foundation. Then we'll compare focused versus open meditation, move into mastering advanced techniques, talk about building a lasting habit, and wrap up by learning how to actually recognize your progress. All right, section 1, setting the physical foundation. Because before we can even think about taming the mind, we've got to remove the physical barriers. If you've ever tried to meditate and felt this dull, growing ache in your lower back, trust me, you are not alone. But here's the thing. That back pain is almost always just an alignment issue. It is absolutely not a sign that you're doing it wrong or that you're just not cut out for meditation. Look, the crucial point here is that you do not need to force yourself into a full lotus position. In fact, if you try to do that without the right hip flexibility, your pelvis tilts backward and that just wreaks havoc on your lower back. You've got options: using a chair, leaning against a wall, propping yourself up on a cushion, doing supported kneeling, or literally just lying flat on your back in savasana. These all actively remove that physical barrier. They passively support your natural spinal curves so your muscles can finally stop fighting themselves. And when your body settles, your mind can actually follow. A lot of people think that sitting on the floor means you have to be rigidly straight, like a wooden board. But true alignment is really about supporting the natural S shape of your spine, your cervical, thoracic, and lumbar curves. Take a cushion, for example. When you elevate your hips just a bit above your knees, it instantly reduces nerve compression and lets that lumbar spine rest naturally. It's all about passive support, not tense muscular effort. But okay, let's say you have the perfect posture. You're completely supported. And then suddenly, you get this intense itch on your nose or a sharp tickle in your throat. Your first instinct is to fight it, right? You're sitting there thinking, I can't move, I'm meditating, this is torture. But fighting it just creates this tight mental fist that literally amplifies the discomfort. Meditation asks us to do the exact opposite. Open that mental fist and just observe the sensation. And actually, there's a biological trick for this. You know those statues where the Buddha has that very slight, gentle smile? It turns out that is an active, necessary technique. It's not just an artistic choice. Every frustrating thought begins with a subtle physical tension in your head. By actively placing a soft smile on your lips and in your eyes, you organically release that tension. It's an ancient hack to make your mind lighter, more fluid, and way more joyful. Which leads us to section 2, focused versus open meditation. Now that our physical foundation is beautifully set and that mental fist is unclenched, let's look at the neuroscience. Because meditation isn't just one single activity. We basically have two distinct modes here. First is focused attention. Think of this like a laser locked onto a single target, like your breath. It requires you to actively suppress distractions. Then you have open monitoring. This is like a massive satellite dish. You're receiving the full field of consciousness, the sounds, the passing thoughts, the physical sensations, but you aren't selecting or judging any single one of them. You are simply aware that you are aware. And when we look at the EEG data mapped by neuroscientists, the difference is wild. Focused meditation drives up alpha and theta waves in the front of your brain to literally block out sensory distractions. It's basically your brain hanging a do not disturb sign on the door. But open monitoring does the exact opposite. It drops those alpha waves to throw the sensory gates wide open, triggering high-frequency gamma waves across the whole brain for complete panoramic awareness. So you might be wondering, well, which one should I do? The answer is both, but the sequence is absolutely crucial. Think about it. You wouldn't try to hold a heavy, wide-angle camera steady without a tripod, right? You should always build a baseline of focused attention first. Spend the first 10 minutes or so stabilizing your mind on your breath, like that laser. Once it's steady, then you can release the grip and expand into the open monitoring state. All right, section 3, mastering advanced techniques. How do we take all this neuroscience and actually execute it without getting completely derailed by our own thoughts? The biggest key here is to stop treating distractions as failures. Seriously, reframe them as heavy weights for your brain's mindfulness gym. Every single time your mind wanders off, you get to do a repetition. Just follow this elegant loop from ancient texts. Recognize the thought, let it go, consciously relax the tension in your head, smile to lighten the mind, and gently return your focus to the breath. That's one rep.
If you want to go deeper, you can bring in some heavy-hitter techniques. Practicing a body scan, checking in part by part, is incredible for grounding a wandering mind into physical reality. It pulls you out of a conceptual thinking loop and into direct sensation. Repeating a mantra acts as a rhythmic anchor, replacing random mental noise with intentional focus. You can also try progressive muscle relaxation or visualizing a peaceful scene. These are all tools to guide you right past the surface-level noise and into profound relaxation.
But remember this, meditation is not about getting a certain experience. It's about experiencing whatever is happening right now. It is, at its core, patience training. If you sit down expecting to see floating lights or feel instant earth-shattering bliss, you are just going to get frustrated. Simply watch the thoughts pass by like clouds. Accept whatever is happening right now without fighting it. Moving on to section 4, building a lasting habit. Because let's be real, none of these scholarly techniques mean anything if you just quit after a week. We have to look at the behavioral science of actually sticking with it. Research shows it takes about 21 days to really cement a habit. Setting short-term, achievable goals with a super clear purpose is way more effective than dramatically promising yourself you'll meditate an hour every day for the rest of your life. Start small. Decide why you're doing it. Pick a realistic time, honestly, even just 5 minutes works, and commit to just a 21-day challenge. And here is a fantastic psychological trick for that, piggybacking. Attach your new 5 to 10 minute practice right onto something you already do on autopilot. For instance, right after you step out of the morning shower, to sit down and meditate before you even think about breakfast. This capitalizes on your brain's naturally higher willpower in the morning, and it automatically bakes the practice into the flow of your day. Finally, section 5, recognizing your progress. Once you're building this daily routine, a really common question comes up. How do you actually know when you've successfully transitioned from a beginner who's just struggling to focus to someone experiencing genuine, deep meditation? Well, as your practice deepens, your internal landscape fundamentally shifts. You'll start to notice a profound calmness. You can literally feel your heart rate slowing down. Your body might feel heavy, like it's melting into the seat. Interestingly, time just kind of disappears. What felt like a grueling 5 minutes yesterday suddenly feels like 30 seconds. Your mind stops racing, and instead of frustration, you'll feel this soft, unprompted sense of joy naturally bubbling up from within. And the ultimate proof of this progress is literally in the hardware of your brain. Long-term practitioners physically reorganize their neural pathways. Those high-frequency gamma bursts, the 25 to 42 hertz waves we saw during open monitoring, in advanced meditators, those stop being temporary states that only happen on the cushion. They actually become permanent, baseline traits of their everyday consciousness. They become fundamentally more aware, more integrated, all the time. The choice between narrowing down your focus to cut through the noise or opening up your awareness to take in the full beauty of the present moment, that's a choice your brain is making hundreds of times every single day. And every time you redirect your attention, you are physically wiring your brain. So now that you have the tools, the posture, and the science, how will you choose to shape your own consciousness? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep practicing, keep smiling, and I will see you next time.